Greetings my friends, welcome to the MAAKL Learning Academy's training video series. This signature course that you are about to view is called How to Professionally Build a 20 Million Ringgit Business, or in short B20M. This training video carries with it 8 CBD points and will cover 6 modules. Now, after each module that you have viewed, you will be directed to MAAKL's website, which is the address is shown right here on your screen, where you'll be asked to answer 5 questions. And these are about the module that you have just viewed. Answer the questions correctly, your computer will tell you that it's done correctly, and then you may proceed to the next module. However, if your results is negative, then I'm afraid, my friends, you have to review the module and then resit the test. You see, in order for you to earn the 8 CBD points, you will need to pass all 6 modules. So, are we ready to proceed? Right, my friends, we are now ready to go into the training video proper. I said earlier that there are 6 modules. Let me tell you what the 6 modules are, right? Number 1, we say that you need to know the changing financial landscape and its implication for you and I as unit trust advisors in this industry today. Second module, we want to talk about the RSP, or the Regular Savings Plan Strategy, to build your RM 20 million business in under 4 years. And we promise you it can be done. And the third module is prospecting effectively for the target clients. You see, when you want to build a 20 million, you need first of all to know what you want to do. You need to know who you want to sell to in order to reach the target very quickly. And that's what we want to do in this module, prospecting for the target clients. And the fourth module is talking about how do we sell professionally by using the MAAKL 6-step process. I'm sure you have already is aware of the MAAKL 6-step process. If not, then I urge you to come for that 2-day training course. And of course, with our award-winning tool, the MHO. The 5th module, my friends, the 5th module is we are going to talk about what it takes to become a professional. Who is a professional? What distinguishes us from the rest of the crowd? And finally, we are going to wrap up this training video by talking our very unique boss concept. You know, my friends, we realize that while we have been talking about the boss concept all this while, not everybody understands what it works, how it means, what do we need to do in order to appropriate this concept for ourselves. So we're going to discuss this as we go along. Right, let's move on to talk about the first module, talking about the change. What is changing? This Greek gentleman called Heraclitus, he lived 2,500 years ago. And imagine 2,500 years ago, he is already saying that nothing endures but change. In other words, the only thing that's permanent is change. And if a man that long ago understands that, how much more you and I today must embrace the fact that change is ever present. What is changing? Well, let's first of all look at the present realities to see how it will affect us moving forward. The present realities are this. Number 1, there's MAAKL Mutual, where you and I are on the top rung, versus the rest of the crowd, the competitors. And you may then ask, who are our competitors? First of all, let's look at the direct competitors. According to the FIMM, there were 60,394 unit trust consultants registered as at last year. Now this 60,394 represents a huge figure. But you may like to know that 1 year ago, there were actually more than 70,000. What does it mean? Not that 10,000 people just left. In fact, more than 10,000 people would have left the industry. Why? Because every day, every week, every month, you get new people coming in. So why is it that people leave this industry? That's something we want to explore as we go along. But right now, understand this. There is 60,393 other advisors vying for the same piece of cake that you and I both want. What about the indirect competition? Well, we have the bank products, and you know that there are so many of them out there. Then there are the insurance products. All of us are very much aware of the fact of investment-linked policies, education plans that promises to send your child to school and so on and so forth. And of course, there is the Amanah Saham One Malaysia, and the ASB and the ASW, and whatever else there is out there. The fact remains that there are so many things outside vying for the same piece of ringgit that we want to get. Question I want to ask, and that is tomorrow. And that's today, that's the present realities. What's going to happen tomorrow? Now I'm sure many of you would have heard of this, would have read this magazine called Personal Money. And so they are asking a question. Are fees falling? I think the answer is a no-brainer. Fees are indeed falling because you and I have both experienced that. Now the reality is this. Number one, this unit trust advisor, you and me, EPF has already slashed the service charge of 6.5% to just 3%. Is there a possibility that they will slash further? Well, that's the answer only EPF will know. But there is a strong likelihood, yes? Then of course, there are the fund supermarkets where they bring in a myriad of funds and they can charge low service charges as low as 2% out there. And so there's pressure, therefore, on the 6.5% that MAAKL Mutual is charging, and the rest of the people who are charging 5.5 and whatever else. Then there is the corporate unit trust advisors. Now, what are unit trust corporate advisors? Well, it simply means this. If you are a financial planner, and there are 2-3 of you who decide to group together and offer financial planning services, yes, and you want to form yourself into a corporation, then you become a KUTA or CUTA. And they can charge any kind of fees they want. How much we don't know, but certainly they will want to compete against the 6.5% that we are charging so that they become more attractive themselves. And of course, there is the IUTA. The IUTA is the Institutional Unit Trust Advisor, which by the way, MAAKL Mutual is one of them. It means that these are institutions that can market third-party funds, just like ourselves. And these people, as you know, their service charges are negotiable. You go to Hong Kong Bank, for example, the first question they want to ask you is that, how much money are you going to bring in? And then the bigger the amount, the smaller the service charges will be. And so, my friends, the reality is that competition is all over the place, and all this is made more significant by the fact that at between 5 to 7% that we are charging, that UTMCs are charging, we are among the highest in Southeast Asia. And this cannot sustain. So in answer to the question posed by Personal Money, are fees falling? The answer is a resounding yes. So, let's look. If fees are falling, when service charges fall, fees, your commission will fall. So the question then is, what will replace shrinking transaction-based commission? Because when fees fall, something has to give as well. So the question is, what will replace transaction-based commission? And the answer, my friends, as all of you know, is asset-based commission. Now what do we mean by transaction-based commission and asset-based commission? Well, here are the definitions, which you may like to remember. Transaction-based commission are those commission paid to you from the front-end fees, or the service charge that we call, from every transaction. In other words, it means that when you do something, you get paid. If you don't do anything, well, you don't get paid. Then what is asset-based commission? Well, this asset-based commission is also known as the trailer commission or career benefits or whatever else you term it. But these are the commission paid to you from the annual management fees based on your personal net asset value. Now, I quickly want to tell you that in MAAKL Mutual, instead of calling it PNAV, we call it our TCF. TCF as in Total Client Funds. In other words, All the clients that you have, add together the money they have invested through you, that is your TCF. This means that as long as your TCF remains, MAAKL Mutual will pay you an asset-based commission. And this is nothing to do with the service charge, which means that your commission rate will not fall. Why? Because the 1.5% will always remain there. In fact, my friends, that the asset-based commission may even rise. I mean, isn't it logical to assume that if the service charge falls, management companies like ourselves will probably need to raise the management fee, maybe by a little bit, and therefore there's every chance that the asset-based commission may even rise. We don't know, but the fact remains that ABC will replace TBC. And in fact, you can even see that happening in MAAKL Mutual today. Many times we see that the asset-based commission actually exceed the payout, exceed the TBC. And we know in the long run that will be the case. What do we do about it? Well, first of all, let's summarize. Front-end fees will be lower. That's a fact. That's a given. Asset-based commission will form the major part of your income because transaction-based commission will shrink. In fact, this is a better deal, as we shall see as we go along in this video. And now, more importantly, more significantly for you and I, is the fact that clients will become even more demanding because of they are becoming more sophisticated, they are becoming more educated. There are so many people out there talking about what they themselves will do for the clients. Clients read more, they're exposed to more information, they become more demanding. And so they will expect more from us because we call ourselves advisors rather than just sales agents. The sales agents just go out and get a sale, but we are supposed to give advice to the client. Remember, we are talking about their hard-earned money. So clients are more demanding. And that brings us to this question that we must ask ourselves. What do clients expect from you and me? And you will agree with me that the best person to answer that question is ourselves. Because you and I are investors as well. So ask yourself, if you were to buy unit trusts from yourself, what would you expect from this person who has sold you the unit trust? Well, we made a survey. We went through quite a number of people and we asked them, what do people expect from you? And the answer is as shown. You know, this is a summary of what the results, the survey has come up with, and we think that is exactly what people expect from us. So in other words, if you and I actually perform what is expected, there is a stronger chance than ever that we will retain our customers' loyalty where we are concerned. So what does the survey show us? Number one, it says that customers expect us to achieve for him or her the expected returns within acceptable risk tolerance. Now I want you to take note of the key phrase, acceptable risk tolerance. You see, my friends, if a person comes in and tells you that, oh, you know, I'm a very conservative person where risk-taking is concerned, my heart is weak, and therefore I cannot take too much fluctuations, and at the same time say, but I want maximum returns from my clients, from my money, maybe about 8%, then it is your job to tell him that that expectation is not tenable. Because most of his funds, you will be investing into either bond or money market, right? And how in the world are you going to give them that 8%? So you see, largely it is your job and my job to tell the customers, look, we can achieve for you what you want, but based on and within your acceptable risk tolerance. I also want you to know this, my friends. In MAAKL Mutual, we don't want people to sell funds. We want you to sell a portfolio. In other words, you will have three categories at least: money market, bond fund, as well as equity. So it is a blended rate of return. So number one, we are supposed to achieve for our clients what they want to get in the long run. Yeah? But remember the key phrase, within acceptable risk tolerance. Then that's I. I as in information. Clients expect us to provide information regarding what's happening in the financial world today. They want to know the market outlook. They want to know what are the opportunities that is available for them to optimize the money that they have placed in your hands, okay, or they have at their disposal. So they expect this from us. Why? Because we call ourselves advisors, remember? And finally, the word M, which stands for monitoring and reviewing the client's portfolio. You see, client put their money with you. They want to know how the money is doing. And it is our responsibility to let them know whether their investments are on track or off track. And if it is off track, they want us to tell them what to do. They need suggestions from us on how to get back their investment to be on track with their financial goals, which we determined earlier on as we first talked to the clients, right? We need to tell them what are the remedial action to take. And you know, the MAAKL Home Office, our tool, the knowledge-based tool, now that's the one that's going to help us monitor and review and to advise the clients what next steps to take. And of course, the person wants us to be able to help him ascertain their financial needs and goals. You'll agree with me that you start off a person who is in his late 20s and then going on to his 30s, his needs change, his goals change, or perhaps they are additional. It is our job to see him through because we are advisors. Yeah. So in other words, if we accomplish this AIM, it means in the eyes, in the minds of the customer, we aim to please. And no customer will be angry with that, isn't that true? Right. We have talked about the expectations of the customer from us. But what must we expect from ourselves? What are our own expectations? You just cannot come into this business and with no expectations at all, or unless you're just here for the ride. You're just here because somebody else asked you to become a unit trust advisor. But if you're serious about this job, you need to ask yourself, what do you need to expect from yourself? It's just like a student going into UPSR or PMR or what have you. If a person just goes in without expecting himself to study hard, review, he will never get good grades. You will agree with that, right? So what are your own expectations? Well, we know this. Number one, when you are in MAAKL region, you must expect to work hard, really hard, the first few years of your life here. Now, this is like any other job. Because when you are new and you're willing to strive, you're willing to build up your database, you find that going forward, your life becomes much less tense, much less stressful. And why do I say that? Look at all our top advisors. They keep on achieving the challenge trips year in and year out. They will tell you that in the early years, qualifying for a trip is a lot more harder than for them now. Why? Because they have already built up their client base, especially if their clients are also regular saving plans investors, which means that money comes in automatically. Number two, their reputation will now have improved. In the beginning, they will probably have made mistakes. Perhaps some people come into the business thinking they must switch in, switch out every day, every week in order to maximize their client's account, which by the way is a wrong word, maximize. You should be thinking of optimizing, not maximizing. We should touch on that later on. But the point is this, we make mistakes in the beginning. But as we progress, we become more sure of ourselves. We become more confident. And then life becomes easier. So, work hard the first few years in MAAKL Mutual. But for those of you who have been here for more than a few years, but still not doing very well, don't worry about it. Believe, put it into your mind that this is the beginning of the first few years, and then work hard towards it, yeah? Number two, we must expect to embrace the cash formula for success. What is the cash formula? Well, the cash formula, K-A-S-H, which by the way sounds like C-A-S-H, there are many different abbreviations to it. Many people use the K for something else, the A for something else, and so on and so forth. But in MAAKL Mutual, we just want you to know K here stands for knowledge. In other words, we need to equip ourselves with the knowledge in order to win the confidence and the trust of our clients. For example, client asks you, what is the market outlook? What do you think? And if your answer is, how would I know? I'm not God, you know. You are not going to go very far in this business. So you must know what is the market outlook. But do you think that your clients will hold you to your word? I don't think so. All they want to know from you is whether you are aware of what's happening in the marketplace or not. And I bet you this, if you come to our Market Outlook talks, you will at least have an idea of what the market outlook is all about. And if you are hardworking enough, MAAKL Mutual has not just got one fund manager, in fact we have got five. And we easily have 3 local ones who comes and give their Market Outlook talk from time to time. So you actually are in a very blessed position. You get a chance to hear not from one fund manager, but from 3 fund managers. Of course, the other 2 are overseas, they seldom come here, but still, you get the benefit of having 3 fund managers telling about their views of the market. And then, if you know what's happening in the world out there, you will be able to form your own opinion. So, how do we increase our knowledge? Now, I want to tell you, first of all, there are 3 websites you must go in every day. Number 1, www.maaklmutual.com.my. And if you don't go into our own website, then we do not know why you're here in the first place. Because you know why? You need to go there to find out the unit trust fund prices. That has better change for negatively or positively, so at least you can tell your clients. The other thing is, in the MAAKL website, you will come, as you go into advisor login, you will come to a page where there's so much information, where there is so much materials that you can read and enhance your own knowledge. Mr. Wong, who is also a prolific writer, who's our CEO as you know, he has a series of articles, and one of them is on a personal rate of returns. Do you know what is personal rate of return? How important it is as compared to a fund return? Then go read that article. And not only that, in our website, you can actually, on the homepage website, you can actually go and look at our fund performances. You can have lots of information about the objectives, the target market of our own funds. Who do we target to, and what are the counters these funds are invested in. So there's plenty of information down there. But over and above all this, the other 2 websites are, the second one is www.cnbc.com. Now this website tells you, gives you a snapshot of what's been happening in the European and American market while you and I are sleeping. You and I both know that whatever happens out there has a direct impact on the Malaysian stock market, isn't that true? So CNBC gives you a snapshot of what happened in Europe, America, but they also give us a snapshot of what's been happening to the commodity prices, gold prices, oil prices. So at least we have an idea of where the world is going. And on top of that, CNBC also gives you news items on what China is doing about the economy, whether America is going ahead with QE3 or whatever they have in mind. And then the third website that you need to go in on a daily basis would be www.bloomberg.com. Bloomberg will give you a much more in-depth articles, insight onto the American situation. And so armed with all this, your knowledge is enhanced. And when you have your knowledge is enhanced, you will be able to tell your clients your take of the market outlook. And at least when you open your mouth, something logical will come out. I have a question for you. In the past 6 months, have you ever read a book that allows you to say, well, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable today than 6 months ago? And when I say read a book, I don't mean comics. I don't mean novels. I mean books that either allow you to develop yourself or books that talk about the marketplace. For example, there's a book in our library that is written by this Richard Ferry, and that talks all about asset allocation. How many of us know what asset allocation is all about? That's one. But self-development books, all of us would have heard, well, I assume all of us would have heard about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, of course, now there is an 8th habit. But the good news is that there won't be a 9th habit. Why? Because Stephen Covey is no longer with us on earth. But there you go. If you have not read any books in the last 6 months, don't feel bad, because you can still do it today. Start today. And the first book I would recommend, if you have not already read this, is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You see, the Malaysian government is giving us a tax break of 1,000 ringgit a year so that we can go and buy books and upgrade our own knowledge. So why don't we take advantage of this wonderful thing that the Malaysian government has given to us? So please go buy that book. And when you start to practice what Stephen Covey says, I guarantee you, yes, I personally guarantee you, your life will be changed. That's knowledge. Then that's attitude. That's A. By attitude, what do we mean by attitude? Attitude simply is this, Attitude is how you look at things. Let me give you an example. You come home after a very tiring day, very hot day, yeah? And you remember that you left a glass full of your favorite drink in the fridge, so that you can come back and have this long, cool drink. Then you reach home, you go to the fridge, and you open the door and you see that instead of the full cup, you see there's only half of the cup, the contents are only fill up half of the glass. Now at that moment, my friends, your attitude determines your behavior. Number one, if you come back, open the door, you're angry. You say to yourself, what? Who drank my drink? And your mind tells you this, hello, it's half empty. And so you become all negative. Chances are, you'll be shouting at your kid, shouting at your mate, whoever, because you think that it was very unfair of them to drink half the contents of your cup. But on the other hand, you come back, you open the door of the fridge, and you see there's your cup there, with the contents up to half of the cup. But you say to yourself, well, I'm grateful that whoever drank this drink remembered to leave half for me. So it's still half full. And so in your mind down there, you will be grateful. You'll be smiling. Instead of being angry, you'll be grateful to the people who left half the cup for you. And that determines your take of the day. Whether you will be angry or whether you'll be happy is entirely in our attitude. Now I want to throw this back to our work as a unit trust advisor. How do you see your job? Do you see yourself as a person in an industry which will allow you to make some extra money? Well, good money. Or do you see yourself in an industry where you are going to be able to help other people achieve financial freedom, reach their financial goals? In other words, helping people have a better life when they need it. Retirement, education, funding, whatever. Making them see how important it is to save up for a rainy day. If you see yourself like that you are there to help people have a better life, then I promise you this. When you go and see a client and the client says no to you, you go and see another client, the other client says no to you, I promise you that your disappointment will not be so great. Why? Because it is their loss, not your loss. And you also know that the more people you see, when they begin to realize that you are there to help them, then you will actually come to a stage where people start to say yes to you. You know, somebody once said that if you help enough people get what they want, you will also automatically get what you want in life. And that's the attitude you and I should have. Let me give you the good news and the bad news about the attitude. The good news about attitude is that yes, you and I can develop a right mental attitude towards not just unit trust industry, but in all aspects of our life. The bad news? Well, the bad news is nobody can just change it for you. You will have to work at it yourself. You will have to change your own attitude for yourself. It all lies in your hands, whether you want to or you don't want to. So that's attitude, right? Then there's S. S in our case stands for skills. How would you rate your skills at closing a sale on a scale of 1 to 10? Rate yourself. How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being very bad, 10 being fantastic. How would you rate yourself at being able to handle objections that your clients will throw at you? Well, if you can't rate yourself highly, always remember, why is it like that? And the answer is, it does not have to remain that way. So I am urging you, my friends, if you are serious in this business, you have got to go on you have to go on becoming better in your skills, in closing the sale, overcoming objections, making sales presentation, and so on and so forth. In other words, where do you get to become a better person? Where do you get to fine-tune your skills? The answer is in training programs. The answer is in attending the sales, the monthly meeting or weekly meeting that your upline or your ARH organizes for you. You see, you and I, there's only so much we know. We need to have other people to help us grow. So MAAKL Mutual organizes these other people's experiences so we can come and learn from them how to become a better person, how to become more skillful. So I urge you, my friends, to come. So I'm going to ask you to do this. Take a moment in time right now. Write down some areas which you think you need to improve in. And then later go talk to your upline, talk to whoever, or some successful unit trust advisors and tell them, please help me to form an action plan so that I can improve in these areas, so that I can become a more skillful unit trust advisor. So that's where skills are concerned. Now what about age? Yesterday I was at a seminar, I think, and then somebody said that H stands for honesty. Well, it could be. Nothing wrong in H being honesty. But in MAAKL Mutual, we want you to understand that H actually stands for habits. Good working habits. You see, when you become a full-time unit trust advisor, the good side and the ugly side. The good side is that, yes, you have more control over your time. The good side is that, yes, you have more quality time, more time that you can spend with your loved ones, and having a quality lifestyle. Yes, those are the good sides. The ugly side is that when we are not disciplined, you find that we may not be working enough hours to achieve what we want to achieve. You see, this is what we then call habits. We know of people who every morning at 9 o'clock, regardless whether they're still in the house doing whatever, which part of the house, but they say to themselves, 9 a.m. I must put on the mindset that I am a unit trust advisor. And so he puts on the tie, whether it's whatever part of the house he's in. And some people do the next better thing. 9 a.m. they must get out of the house. I know of a friend who's in Penang, who works for another unit trust company, and he says to me, you know, David, when I first started, I made this rule for myself. I want to develop this working habit of what? You know, he says, when I leave my house, I have a set goal. And that set goal could be, well, I want to make 10,000, I want to get 10,000 sales or 20,000 sales, whatever. And he says that whatever my goal is, I will make sure I won't come home until I achieve that goal. And so his wife has been trained to accept the fact that if the husband don't come back, that means he hasn't achieved his sales quota yet. Does it work? Well, he was driving a Mercedes-Benz all those years back. So it must be something good. So what are the working habits that you and I must have? What are some good working habits that we must have? Well, I can name one of them right now, and that is planning for your work before you start work the next day. Because you know the famous saying, right? You fail to plan, that means you plan to fail. Simple as that. But there's so many other good working habits. So again, I come back to the point where I encourage you to attend sales meeting, where you can learn from one another, learning how successful people, what do they do? And one thing I learned in life is this: successful people do things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. I repeat, successful people do things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. Figure out for yourself, what are the good things you must do? Let me give you the good news about good working habits. A habit, if you do it consistently for 21 days, automatically becomes part of you. Because 21 days is how long it takes to form a habit. So it is equally true, You can also form a bad working habit. So be very careful. What are the habits you want to form? So once you have got your list of good working habits, you stick to it, you would have completed the cash formula. Over and above all that. Plus the fact that MAAKL Mutual has got this world-class knowledge-based tools, which will help your job and my job much easier, and which will help our clients as well to be more impressed with what MAAKL Mutual has to offer. And we are talking about the MAAKL Home Office. I would assume that all of you watching this video would already have become acquainted with the MHO, but I wonder how many of us are using all the features down there effectively. I wonder how many of us don't even know that there's some features that are existing down there. For example, somebody called me very recently and said that they don't know what is this portfolio analysis in the what if analysis. And that's sad. Remember I said earlier, in MAAKL Mutual, we ask people not to sell funds, but to sell portfolios. And until you can master that, how are you going to convince your client that you're different from the rest of the crowd? That you will sell portfolios rather than just sell funds. So that's our knowledge-based tools. There are 4 elements to it, as you know. There's MHO Pro, Online, Mobile, Investor. If you want to know the difference, I strongly urge you, my friends, to quickly go sign up for an MHO course, which is conducted by MAAKL's Training and Financial Planning Department. This is our website that I talked to you about, where there's so much information available on. There's so much to do, so much to learn. And of course, we also ask people to actually do this. Go sign up for Module 1 of the Certified Financial Planners course, CFP. Now CFP comes in 6 modules, just like this training video, 6 modules. But you pass the first one, you are now entitled to use the AFPM letters behind your name. Now, AFPM stands for Associate Financial Planner Malaysia. Now, even though it is only part 1 or module 1 of the 6 modules, this is a very crucial module in the sense that it gives you an overview of what financial planning is all about. Because this one talks a little bit about taxation, talks a little bit about insurance, talks a little bit about wealth or estate planning, and it gives you a whole works. So at least when you talk to your clients, you'll be able to aware them of the different aspects of financial planning. And let me ask you this. All things being equal, yeah, both advisors, they go and see a client. They both talk about the same thing. They both represent the same industry, right? And they are both equally well educated. They are both equally knowledgeable. But one has an FPM behind the name, the other don't have. Who do you think the client will invest in? You're right, the person with AFPM. And so we ask you, my friends, to strongly consider, for those of you who haven't done so yet, strongly consider taking Module 1 of the CFP. And not only that, it gives you a differentiation. It allows you the first step into the world of financial planning. And you can actually pursue this as a career in MAAKL Mutual. You see, in MAAKL Mutual, there are two lanes of career that you can pursue. One, just become a unit trust specialist, just sell unit trust. You make a lot of money, I promise you that. Or you can decide to become a financial planner. Why? Because MAAKL Mutual is also a securities commission licensed financial planning company, which means you can become and practice as a financial planner in MAAKL Mutual. But in order to do that, first of all, you need to become a CFP, or an RFP if you like, or an IFP if you like. Okay? Oh, by the way, CFP is Certified Financial Planning, RFP is Registered Financial Planner, and of course, IFP is your Islamic Financial Planner. So, become an Associate Financial Planner. Some of the benefits of becoming an AFPM. One, you'll be able to meet the needs of our clients because you are exposed to financial planning process. You get client satisfaction because when you're able to give good advice, clients are happy. They may not be aware of things out there, and they will be grateful because you have aware them of what is the realities out there, what are the things that affect them, for example. Many people do not know what will actually happen if they die intestate. That means they die without a will. People don't understand the complications, the frustrations that's involved. And also, many younger people, they think that at their age they don't need to write a will. And when you educate them, they become more aware that everybody has got the responsibility to write a will so as to lessen the frustrations, the pain, of a person leaving this earth without a will. Lessening their grief, and having to cope with so many things. Recognition by clients, I said, 2%, one with their PM, the other don't have. And it makes you stand up from the rest. Out of the 60,400 people that I showed you earlier, I wonder how many of these 60,000 people have got AFPM. To my guess, not very many. And so if you and I can have that behind our names, the designation AFPM behind our names, it makes us stand up from the peers. You get to run faster, right? Always start at the right place. Okay, so you'll be able to distinguish yourself. As I said earlier, there's career growth enhancement. I told you about the fact that MAAKL Mutual is a Securities Commission licensed financial planning company. And of course, and this is most important, I guess, if you ask me, it's the personal satisfaction. The personal satisfaction of knowing that you have grown in the financial planning world. You have learned more things. You are now more ready to go and give advice to your clients. That's personal satisfaction. And this comes from having the fact when you receive the letter from FPAN to say, dear so-and-so, here's your results, and you see the word P. Pass. And you'll be happy about that, right? So, my friends, knowledge, attitudes, skills, and habits. On top of that, if you have the tools, which MAAKL Mutual has, and you will know that our tools is an award-winning, it's a world-class award-winning tool. You will know by now that MAAKL Mutual is the first company in the Asia-Pacific region, yes, the entire Asia-Pacific region, to be awarded Microsoft Windows-based award for our amateur. So if you use the tools together with your cash, then my friends, I promise you, you will have achieved your aim of getting customers' satisfaction and loyalty.